It is first important because it's important for us to collect and analyze data on the impacts of climate-smart agriculture practices that can help build a strong case for investment. This may also include using models to predict the outcomes of different funding scenarios that could help identify the most effective strategies. Moreover, exploring diverse funding sources such as government grants, private investment, and international partnership that could provide the necessary financial support will also help with ensuring that the enabling policy frameworks and regulations in regards to climate-smart agriculture and renewable energy adoption that is crucial for this sector. In overall, we are looking at results that will lead to strong collaboration between government and private sector actors to mobilize resources needed for scale that will lead to transformative impact and change in people's life. And for us to discuss this topic, we'll be having different panelists, both who are those who are here and those who are also joining us virtually to look into this area. I will start with Dr. Abdulaziz Diédou, who is the head of Climate Finance Unit of the Agricultural Bank of Senegal. I hope he's online. And also we do have Mr. Babakar Ndiaye, who is the Director of Investment at FONSIS. I believe he is also online. And Mr. Song Yoon, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Envelope Company Limited. Dr. Chantal is not here, but we do also have our colleagues who will be presenting as we kick off. We have our country representative from Rwanda, who is Caroline Reis, and our project lead in forestry, Dr. Bridget. So we will kick off first with two presentations before we go into the panel discussion. The first will be on scaling up climate resilience, rice production, and processing in Senegal. And the presenter is Mamadou Konate, whom I can see online, who is the program lead there in GGGI Senegal office. So, Mahamadou, you will have just 5 to 10 minutes to make your presentation, and then we'll go to the next.
Thank you very much, Danny, for this introduction, and good morning and good evening to all, depending on where you are following us. And please welcome to this presentation on scaling up climate resilience rice production in Senegal River Valley. I'm going to do a quick introduction and talk about the theory of change, and before highlighting the key project figures and give an overview of the key expected outcome and challenges, as well as the lesson learned before moving to the priorities for the scaling up. Go ahead. Now, this is the theory of change of the project. And the project is aimed to introduce solar power solution for irrigation and drainage, combined with climate-smart agricultural practices to address water, energy, agriculture, climate change nexus in rice cultivation in Senegal River Valley. The goal is to increase the resilience of approximately 5,833 smallholder farmers, to increase their productivity by 50%, income by 10%, while contributing to greenhouse gas emission reduction, and also in creating 450 short-term. Next slide. Now, it's a sort of journey we did from 2020 to now, and this slide is just providing a few key figures of the project, starting by the amount of the grant provided by the Qatar Fund for Development. It's about 2,926,643, with a co-financing of 340,000 from Senegal. The project started in 2021. And as you can see in the photo, we had a fruitful partnership agreement with FONSIS, with LBA, but also as well as with the ministry in August 2024. And we are at the end of the consolidated phase, as the project ended in the initial phase of the project ended in December 31st, 2023. Now we are at the end of the consolidation phase. Now let's move to the next one. Now the slide 3 is providing an overview of what has been planned and achieved in terms of impacts. Now in terms of yield improved by introducing climate smart resilient practices, we achieved 20%, 21%. This is coming from the trials, and this is without the irrigation system. And in terms of revenue increase, income increase also, 10% out of 6% out of 10%. Now, in terms of greenhouse gas emission reduction, after the commissioning of the solar powered system equipment, now we're more or less, we started measuring the emission from July. It's about 500 megawatt peak from July and September. And this is mainly coming from 5 stations which are already functioning. In terms of access to clean and affordable energy, we have 15,000 of people who gain access after the commissioning of the 1.6 megawatt of solar powered system. In terms of job creation, we are around, we are close to the target with 425. Let's move to the next one. Now this is mainly for the now I'm leading to the outputs. This output is the one dedicated to the introduction of the solar powered system for irrigation and drainage. Now the goal was to equip at least 21 pumps. The goal is the target is now achieved, and 1.6 megawatt peak have been installed. Now, in terms of target in resource mobilization for the scale, we are working now on creating a SPV. Babacar from FONSIS will come and explain more about this process. But the goal is to mobilize up to 50 million USD to scale up. But now, in terms of number of beneficiaries gaining assisted through this technology, it's about 10,000 households. And from the national census, it's at least 9% by households, that which led to 90,000. Now for the CSA component, the goal was to introduce climate smart practice over 1,800 hectares. We are beyond, because we are at around 10,870, and including what is ongoing for the wheat season. In terms of beneficiary assisted, we are above the 8,833. We are 15,626. We went beyond. Now, for the extent to which our training has impacted, an external evaluation will be conducted in the coming days. Next slide. Now, for the last one, mostly dedicated to the scale-up. But for the agricultural component, we are partnering with the Agricultural Bank of Senegal to develop a blended finance mechanism to foster climate CSR in agriculture in Senegal. And during the pilot, we experienced a blended finance mechanism which allows us to get a loan from the bank around 4 million, more than the grant of 2,926,000 provided before, which is a good achievement. Please move to the next one. Now, in terms of key challenge, we have 7 challenges highlighted. It's a lot, I cannot go through those challenges, but what I can say is that coordination in this kind of project is really important between government partners, financial institutions, and sovereign wealth fund like FONSIS and La Banque Agricole, but also making adjustment with smaller, it's really important. The procurement also, and the site selection process must be really done in advance because it is time consuming. There are many challenges and many other constraints that can be out of the control, like conflict in the Red Sea, etc. And sometimes it's not easy to, as the project is innovative, it's not easy to have the right individual consultant or firm to conduct the feasibility, the studies. And but also the political and economical context. I pass through the COVID. And also in the gap of knowledge, because it's about technology transfer and innovation, the gap of knowledge is a challenge to be addressed at this stage to get to the point. Now, in terms of lesson learned, the key one is to maintain the holistic approach in terms of nexus, water, energy, agriculture, and climate change to drive the change as expected in an integrated manner. But also in terms of, it's half of the budget is dedicated in investment. And for in that, the public-private partnership is really important. And we are heading to that in developing the SPVs. And now, but one of the key constraints is for the smallholder farmers to get access to credit. Now, we are working in that side with the Agricultural Bank to develop a blended finance mechanism to foster it. Now, you can move to the next one. Now, we have many lessons learned. Now, one of the key lessons learned, and Omar will acknowledge, it's about the targets. We put 50% of yield increase for a project of 3 years. It's very short. And from the result coming from the research and development, it must be at least 4 to 5 years to be able to reach easily this target. But also the length of the time devoted to the feasibility study, supply, installation, and commissioning must be longer to be able to reach the target within the limit of the project. For the further project, this activity must take longer, and the project also must be at least a 4-year project. Now, and also for the feasibility study, we need to deep dive to do the audit of the grid system on which we are going to add the solar powered system. Now, yes, one key lesson learned is to involve more women and youth. We know that in Senegal, mostly, it's not a tradition to see young people in agriculture, but we need to encourage that in promoting entrepreneurship along the rice value chain to see how we can innovate and provide seed funding for those young entrepreneurs, and to also to fix them and to avoid illegal migration, which is really a challenge in the project development area. And we also need to work, for example, if we need to involve the private sector, it needs to be more attractive. Now, the recommendation is to work along the value chain. This project was focused on the primary production, but going through the processing also can be a value added. there are many opportunities to scale solar power solution along the value chain. Next one. Time is running. Now, in terms of priority, people who attended the last session get most of the point in terms of partnership with the private sector, the addressing the gaps and improving the skills, have enough track record and evidence to build strong and solid business model, to make it profitable, to make it sustainable, and also increasing access to finance for smallholder farmers are the key point. I know that during the panel, our distinguished panelists may come back and elaborate more. This is what I have to deliver, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Madhu, for the great presentation. And I will advise or suggest for our participants to put up their questions on the chat so that we can collect it and come back to you. Now we're going to move to our second presentation, Prospects of Agrivoltaics in Rwanda for Triple Benefit within Water, Energy, Food Nexus. And I would like to invite Dr. Bridget, who is our lead in forestry and landscape, to make her presentation.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you speak a little bit louder?
Okay. And can you see my screen as well?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for the introductions. I would like to share with you what we have been doing in Rwanda, looking into the possibilities of having agrivoltaics for triple benefit between water and energy food nexus. If I can move quickly to the slides. Agrivoltaics, you may ask yourself, what is it? So basically, this is a concept that combines photovoltaic electricity generation, but also agriculture production under one land use program, providing the opportunity for a more efficient land use, but also contributing to overall integration of food, energy, and water systems. If I can come back to what our colleague just ended with, that we need to contribute to looking at issues around these three systems: food, energy, and water systems. So agrivoltaics basically simply amounting a photovoltaics above the land or above agriculture farming, and where you can benefit from the shade under the agrivoltaics system, but also increase water retention in the soil, but also reducing transpiration from plants. If I can move to the next different applications, we have a combination of farming and solar power generation. We could do agriculture from underneath the panels. We could do also grazing underneath the panels. We could also do ecosystem services like pollination. We could plant those species that are really good to attract bees. And recently we have issues with the pollination reducing capacity in different farms around the globe. So this could be one of the application of agrivoltaics, but we could also do application on already greenhouse systems. So we can mount these agrivoltaics above the greenhouse in case we would like to support the greenhouse in terms of energy, but also reducing water uses. So what do we have at the African continent as challenges, but also opportunities for this system? So first of all, we have land use competition. So some countries, they have limited arable land, and this arable land is being needed for so many different uses: agriculture, energy production, urbanization, you can name it. So this is a challenge all over Africa, especially in Rwanda, where we have limited land, but also limited arable land that can produce food for the people. We have also issues around water availability. We have issues around energy security, energy access, especially in rural areas. We have issues around climate change that is causing a lot of drought. We have issues around the reliance on subsistence farming with the little technology, with the little know-how, but also with the little innovations. So when we look at the continent of Africa, in terms of agrivoltaics uptake, we have had last week a very good webinar where we have been looking globally, where are we? So, but in Africa, you can see we are still at the level of studying feasibility studies, a few applications, a few pilots. We have so far enough in East Africa, for example, only 3 studies. So we hope that will be taken up by governments within Africa, because we have land, especially where we have issues around drought-prone areas. Some of the opportunities, I consider this as a village. If you construct or if you have a farm where you would like to apply agrivoltaics, you have the benefits from water use, you have benefit from energy use, benefit of food production, improve the microclimate, improve the crop production, increase the crop yield. You can use the water harvested from the panels to use for animals, for drinking, for irrigation. So there are so many applications. But the most important one, when you are looking at the market level, then you can also extract the energy that you are not using at the level of the farm. Then you can use that energy either for food processing, if you are connected to bigger industry nearby the farm, or industrial zone. You can use that energy for cold rooms. You can also use that energy for electricity to the communities surrounding these farming systems. These are so many opportunities that have been tested somewhere else that could also be extrapolated to be taken in Africa. So these are a few examples I would like to share with you in piloting this technology in Kenya that have been tested either in lab, but also in the ground. When you look at the pictures where you see cabbages, this has been proven to be a very good positive result from drought-prone areas in Kenya, where they have tried, where there was nothing that could grow in that area. And then they had to apply the technology, and the yield is very significant, as you can notice on the pictures yourself. So they took the same species, the same crops that are shade tolerant, to test that in the labs. And they tried spinach, cowpeas, and zucchini. And you see a significant increase in yield under the agrivoltaic systems compared to open fields. These were also done another area in Kenya with different institutions. They have tried beans, they have tried switch card and maize and other crops. And you have we see variation in crop yield. For example, we had an increase in beans and switch card, but we could not see any increase in onion, sweet pepper, eggplants, for example. This is very common. So, which means that there has to be interactions we need to understand between climate, the structure of APV, the crop productivity, but also we need collaboration to make this possible, either with the community, with the government, district level, different levels of the government, but also partnering with the industries. So these data, they highlight the need also to pilot, to gather evidence so that you can scale, but you can also collaborate with the industry. In Rwanda, what we wanted to look at is on the drought-prone area in eastern province of Rwanda, where we have a lot of drought, less rainfall, slope is applicable or suitable for agrivoltaics mounting them, but also where we have a lot of solar radiation throughout the year. In this area, there is less productivity compared to other regions of the country because of all these elements that I just stated. So we have started with the preliminary study where we have identified the sites, but also we have tried some of the crops, not on the ground. We have used literature review to collect some data working with the Ministry of Agriculture, but also Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Board. As you can imagine, Rwanda is a country which is mainly rely on agriculture, meeting 90% of the country's food needs, and employment as well, in terms of employment, but in terms of also the community that involves much more in agriculture, which is more women. So these are few of the results on French beans. We have tested together with our partners, who I'm happy to say that he's on the panel. He will probably talk more about this. And we have measured total above ground production, total weight of storage organ, but we have seen positive results under the scenario of climate change, where we could increase the temperature 1.5, but also reduce precipitation, because this is where you can apply in this region of the country. And under the scenario of climate change, that's where we have noticed an increase in total weight of storage organ of the French beans. Normally, French beans is not a shade-tolerant plant. So you can imagine then the result if we could test this under crops that are shade-tolerant, we could see much more positive results. So that's why we would like to move to the next level of piloting this study within the context of Rwanda, within also the context, regional specificity of the climatic conditions. So what is next then? We need to gather evidence based on the context, but also based on different things that I would like to highlight. We need to understand the economic and the climate resilience benefits of this technology. It has been shown in other countries. We need to understand water and energy savings. If we would like to maybe to push more on the energy production of the technology, what do we need to see? What do we need to gather as data? We need also to understand the benefits of doing this on small land, the benefits of dual land use, where you have both energy production, but also agricultural productivity increase. We need also to look at the local level, food energy security. We have been talking about how important this is for different countries in Africa. But if we have limited land, then this is an opportunity also to look at the market profitability. If we have that village that I've talked about, where you have everything connected to each other, you produce, you avoid food loss, you handle post-harvest facilities with electricity produced at the same on the same land. Some concerns, though, they are there. People have been presenting this. There is less or lack of technical how when it comes to infrastructure management and monitoring after you have mounted this infrastructure. There is also a high initial capital cost that you need to consider. That's where you need capital, you need also the government to support, or also you need the private sector involvement. Cost benefit analysis, mostly if you are going to involve this, to involve the private sector, you need to understand when am I going to get my return on investment. All of these need study, but also it would be good to have a pilot where you gather evidence based on the local conditions. So I would like to end here. I'll be happy to take any questions if there are. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you, Dr. Bridget, for that excellent presentation. Now we are quickly going to move to our panelists for them to talk a little bit more in detail on these two presentations. I'm going to hand over to you, Mr. Babakar Ndiaye, for you to elaborate on the approach of mobilizing investment to scale the innovative green energy solutions for rice production and processing through a special purpose vehicle. Over to you. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hello everyone, wherever you are. So I'm Babacar Ndiaye, Investment Director in FONSIS. So to elaborate on the topic, I wanted to say first of all that the main issue we have on one project, for example, we are working with DJI and another entity in Senegal working on the land development and exploitation in the River Valley of Senegal, is that we have that irrigated agriculture is very important. So we have a lot of farmers that practice this kind of agriculture, and they are mainly smallholder farmers in the River Valley, and especially in horticulture and in rice production. So we have this society called SAED that is in charge of land development and exploitation, that was created in 1965, that had invested in irrigated systems for water service, but mainly it was working on irrigation systems such as diesel and grid pump to ensure continuous production. But what we do see in the ground, that was the cost of water service was very, very high, and the challenge with the years coming after years of exploitation of this system, it is now to replace the old equipment with the photovoltaic fields to supply existing pumping station with renewable energy. So there is a need to replace the system, but also we think that we can do so by renewable energy, and also we have the possibility to decrease the amount of the water services that cost a quarter of the operational expense of the farmers, especially in rice production. So all the challenge of the solarization pump project was to see how we can make a project that will install those kind of equipment. But the challenge is after the construction and the installation of the equipment to do all the maintenance and the exploitation, and to have a bankable water service. So we worked on this project with DJI and SAED, and the goal is to equip 190 pump to do the water service. So but all the issue here is we have a very big project for an amount of $40 million. So the challenge is to raise the money to do the project. But before do the construction, we have the feasibility phase that needs to operate some study, some technical study, and some environmental study. So we have to mobilize resources to finance those kind of studies. And we want also to do a proof of concept. Mamadou Konate presents the pilot phase of this project earlier in his presentation. And after the pilot phase that enabled us to equip 21 pumping station, we are working now to see how we can create the SPV with FONSIS and SAED. And the challenge is to find the resources to capitalize the SPV. And after the capitalization of the SPV, we will work with financial partners to raise debt to finance the global amount of the project. That is around 40 million USD. So the idea here is to create a SPV that is worked on the construction of and equipment of the pump, but also after we'll do the after sales service. So it will do all the maintenance, the equipment, and we'll do also the to collect the money, the revenue from the smallholder farmers. And all the challenge will be to have those the smallholder farmers that will have revenues from our system. So the goal is to allow them to increase revenues by this project. We want to achieve 50% increase in agricultural yields, 10% increase in farmers' income, and maybe 30% to 40% decrease in electricity cost. So all the challenges of the SPV will be to follow those KPIs and also to make all the system function correctly. So it's the idea of creating this SPV and to raise money and to operate all the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ndiaye. I will now move over to Mr. Abdulaziz Theodou, who is the head of Climate Finance Unit of the Agricultural Bank of Senegal. Could you elaborate on the approach to develop a green climate facility for fostering climate-smart agriculture best practices in Senegal?
Thank you very much. First, I thank a lot the GGI by giving us this opportunity through this panel to share our challenge and challenge we are facing on the scaling up of innovating green financing solution. So with your permission, I am more comfortable in French. My English is not very good like Mamadou Konate has well English. So if you allow me to move in French, I will better appreciate.
Please,
Thank you.
Alors, can go ahead.
Merci. Merci beaucoup encore une fois à DJI de nous donner cette opportunité et remercier Mamadou Konate, remercier Omar Diouf. Nous avons été avec DJI en partenariat dans la vallée du fleuve Sénégal, notamment pour renforcer nos interventions sur la production de riz, en rapport donc avec un pilote qu'on a construit par la subvention. Donc DJI est allé chercher au niveau de Qatar Fund, qu'on a mixé donc avec nos financements pour voir dans quel cadre on pourrait accompagner la solarisation ou l'hybridation de certaines stations de pompage. Évidemment, ce système de solarisation, pourquoi en fait ce projet? Nous avions fait un constat. Les producteurs qu'on accompagnait étaient face à un business économique qui était très bouleversé par les charges liées à l'électricité. Donc, c'était en tout cas des charges énormes. Et parfois, ça plombait tout le business économique, en tout cas tout le business model que la banque définissait avec eux, parce que le poids donc, économique sur ces charges-là était énorme. L'autre chose, c'est que nous faisons face également à un dérèglement climatique qui a bouleversé au niveau de la vallée tous les processus, disons, écologiques, en lien avec justement toutes les performances que nous voyons aujourd'hui sur l'irrigation. L'autre chose, et c'était aussi une innovation avec ce projet, c'était à travers, avec aussi l'implication, disons, des organisations qui travaillent dans la sélection variétale, c'était de voir comment, en rapport avec le changement climatique, promouvoir aussi des variétés à haut rendement et qui puissent être également aussi résilients par rapport au changement climatique. LBA était dans sa zone de confort, d'autant plus que nous travaillons dans la vallée du fleuve Sénégal à accompagner ces groupements de producteurs, ces unions hydrauliques dans le financement de la campagne. Donc pour nous, c'était un schéma très clair, donc avec DJI, et en rapport également avec Francis, pour voir dans quel cadre on pourrait bâtir un modèle qu'on pourrait après mettre à l'échelle partant en tout cas des enseignements qu'on y a tirés. Je ne vais pas revenir sur les résultats du projet. Konate a fait une excellente présentation. Nous, ce qu'on tire comme résultat, c'est que le pilote nous a permis véritablement d'arriver à une chose, c'est ce qui est sûr et certain. Aujourd'hui, il va falloir forcément aller vers l'hybridation de ces stations de pompage-là. Ce ne sera pas du solarisation à 100%, mais peut-être il faut le faire de manière séquencée pour pouvoir justement faire une économie d'eau, ça c'est aussi un, et pour pouvoir également permettre aux cultivateurs d'avoir peut-être des semences résilientes, en tout cas de travailler dans des conditions qui leur permettent, disons, de mieux économiser la ressource eau et d'être résilient face au changement climatique. Avant de revenir un peu sur quelques challenges liés au financement, je dois dire que ce projet nous a permis déjà d'introduire en tant qu'entité accrédité du Fonds Vert Climat un projet sur une ligne de financement promotion de l'agriculture climato-intelligente. On a soumis au DCF. C'est vrai que nous avions démarré la réflexion, mais le projet avec GGGI est venu conforter la réflexion parce que nous avons déjà pu démontrer au Fonds Vert quelques résultats probants. Et la ligne de facilité, c'est quoi? C'est une ligne de crédit qu'on va loger au niveau de la banque agricole et qui va promouvoir le financement de pratiques agricoles climato-intelligentes au niveau de la vallée du fleuve Sénégal et dans toutes les zones d'intervention donc de la banque agricole au niveau du Sénégal. Ce projet a fait l'objet d'un PPF avec le Fonds Vert et aujourd'hui on va aller à l'étape pour la validation et espérer avoir donc le financement environ de 50 millions de dollars, voilà, pour une ligne de crédit qu'on va loger au niveau donc de la banque avec vraiment une ligne concessionnelle. Alors maintenant si je reviens un peu sur les défis en lien avec la mise à l'échelle de ces solutions de financement. Il est clair que sur tout ce qui est ressorti des discussions ce matin, l'accès au financement demeure un problème. Les agriculteurs ont souvent du mal à accéder au crédit parce que le coût de la recherche, de la ressource coûte cher. Également, voilà, les banques demandent parfois des sûretés qui ne leur permettent pas de répondre justement à tout ce qui est demandé par les institutions financières. Donc forcément, il va falloir travailler sur des produits adaptés. Donc ce pilote offre des produits adaptés et travailler aussi sur des instruments de financement mixant peut-être le blending, une subvention, etc. Et c'est ce que nous avons fait avec GGGI et Fonds6. Donc l'accès au financement pour la mise à l'échelle est une contrainte et un défi majeur, aussi bien pour les acteurs que pour les institutions de financement. C'est pourquoi LBA travaille justement à avoir des lignes de crédit concessionnelles. Il y a aussi la croissance limitée des solutions vertes. Aujourd'hui, on parle de solutions climatiques. Quand vous prenez n'importe quel agriculteur, sur 100 agriculteurs, vous les prenez, vous leur posez la question, c'est quoi une agriculture climato-intelligente? La réponse sera très faible parce qu'il y a également un besoin de renforcement des capacités. Les agriculteurs devront être capacités à mieux appréhender la question donc, du changement climatique et voir en rapport avec les solutions qui sont proposées, quel devra être véritablement l'impact donc attendu. Les infrastructures ne sont pas souvent adaptées, parfois oui, aussi bien les infrastructures, les matériaux. La banque souvent court énormément de risques en allant avec un fournisseur de technologie parce que souvent les technologies qui sont proposées, le service après-vente ne répond pas ou on est peut-être dans des zones où les niveaux les conditions de salinité, les conditions de... Bon, voilà, tout ce matériel-là, s'il ne répond pas, donc il va falloir travailler vraiment à mieux structurer le matériel, à mieux également mettre en place des infrastructures adaptées pour la mise en œuvre de ces solutions-là. Il y a aussi le cadre réglementaire au niveau Sénégal. Nous, avant le projet avec GGGI, nous avons testé un pilote dans la zone des Niayes avec un fournisseur de technologie. Mais bon, au niveau du Sénégal, on nous parle d'incitation fiscale, mais la mise à disposition de cette incitation fiscale-là aussi n'est pas facile. Donc, il va falloir aussi au niveau réglementaire travailler à mieux favoriser ce cadre réglementaire. L'autre chose, le Sénégal a démarré un exercice intéressant avec l'appui de la GIZ sur la taxonomie verte. Il va falloir qu'on ait également une taxonomie qui nous permette de qualifier justement qu'est-ce qui est activité climat, qu'est-ce qui est activité verte et qu'est-ce qui ne l'est pas. C'est un processus qui va prendre du temps. je pense que DJI également est impliqué dans ce processus-là. Ça rentre dans le cadre donc de ce cadre réglementaire-là. Le manque de sensibilisation et de formation, je l'ai dit, aussi bien pour les institutions de financement que pour les acteurs que pour les partenaires. Pourquoi nous avons lancé il y a 2 ans un dialogue avec de haut niveau avec le secteur privé en rapport avec DJI pour présenter justement toutes les opportunités en lien avec la finance climatique. Parce que le secteur privé, pour pouvoir investir dans le climat, doit percevoir d'abord toutes les opportunités liées au changement climatique. Le changement climatique, je dis chaque fois aux porteurs de projets qui viennent nous voir que ce n'est pas une fatalité. Le changement climatique, il faut le percevoir comme une opportunité. Maintenant, il va falloir l'intégrer justement dans tous vos business models et voir dans quel cadre il devra véritablement impacter tous vos produits, impacter vos outputs. Donc, nous, au niveau de la banque, nous travaillons dans ce cadre-là. Aujourd'hui, on est accrédité au Fonds vert climat. Nous allons dans quelques mois avoir l'accréditation au Fonds d'adaptation qui va nous donner justement aujourd'hui tout un arsenal d'outils qui va nous permettre d'aller voir d'autres partenaires comme FONSIS, d'aller voir le FONGIP, d'aller voir DJI et de travailler sur un cadre harmonisé permettant justement au secteur privé de saisir toutes les opportunités en lien avec donc l'investissement vert ou l'investissement climat. On est une banque, nous sommes en train de travailler à dérisquer donc nos produits, à dérisquer notre portefeuille donc en lien avec le changement climatique. Il nous faut des lignes de crédit concessionnelles, il nous faut donc de la ressource adaptée, de la ressource stable. Forcément, il va falloir travailler sur un partenariat fort donc avec nous. Nous avons apprécié toutes les expériences qui ont été partagées à travers ce panel-là. Ce retour d'expérience va nous permettre de mieux comprendre justement les enjeux aujourd'hui. Merci, j'ai été très long, mais bon, c'était juste un balayage que je voulais faire par rapport au sujet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulaziz. We will now quickly go to the CEO of Envelopes Company Limited, Mr. Song Yun. Could you please tell us a bit about the multiple benefits of using clean energy through agrovoltaics? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone. I'm Song from Envelopes. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to discuss the multiple benefits of clean energy technology like agrivoltaics and how they offer innovative business model in Africa during this climate change crisis. Our company provides smart agrivoltaic solution, and we have been implementing this kind of a project in Fiji, Vietnam, and Indonesia. And as Dr. Bridget mentioned in the previous presentation, we had a great opportunity to conduct this preliminary study of agrivoltaic implementation in Rwanda with the DJI Rwanda team here. And it showed actually a very promising result in terms of the climate adaptation and also its mitigation impacts. As you know, agriculture is the cornerstone of Africa's economy, accounting about 30% of the GDP, and also it employs a lot of the population, more than 60% of the entire population in Africa. So this sector is not just the economic pillar, but also vital for the people in Africa. But because of this climate change, it faces the significant risk due to increasing temperature and also severe drought and other climate impacts caused by this kind of events. And it's expected by 2050, this kind of a crop yield in some African country could decrease up to around 50% due to this climate impacts. So there is an urgent need for climate resilient and climate smart agricultural practice to ensure the food security, economy, and protect livelihood in Africa. As Dr. Bridget explained during her excellent presentation, agrivoltaic is basically combines farming and also with a solar power system of it. By installing this specially designed solar power structure above the crops, agrivoltaic can create some climate resilient microclimate that effectively reduce the temperature around the 3 to 5%, 5 Celsius degree, and also reduce the moisture evaporation around the 30%. And it's a kind of a same principle of you are standing under the tree during the hot day. So it can bring various benefits, especially enhancing crop yield compared to the traditional open field farming. And where the agriculture is at risk due to high temperature and drought, such as like a region in Africa, can be very effectively have a climate protective impact from these agrivoltaics. As Dr. Bridge mentioned, the pilot result in Tanzania, Kenya showed around 11 to 110% crop yield increase, especially for the beans, it was more than 100% increase. And also our recent study with the GGR Rwanda team also showed that around the 10% increase for the crop yield for the French beans. And this source can be very effective solution for the high value crops, especially in Africa, there are coffees, cocoa and vanilla, and this kind of a crop also getting a lot of damage from this high temperature and climate change. Also, while doing so, you can generate clean energy with the solar power generation so that the farmer or the project owner not only can use this clean energy, but also can increase their income by selling this energy to the power grid or rural communities. And water conservation is also a key benefit of agrivoltaic. It can reduce the soil moisture evaporation by 30%. And also it can combine with a solar pumping system to have a more sustainable irrigation system compared to the normal open field farming. So this kind of dual use land maximize this kind of resource using this kind of resource very efficiently, and also provide multiple revenue stream for the farmer or the project owner. So multiple revenue stream means that from the energy generation and also profit from the agriculture. And this kind of a system also can be combined with the e-mobility charging system, e-bike charging system, and also other agricultural processing facilities, such as like a coffee processing facility to reduce the usage of the diesel, high cost of the diesel generation, so that it can give a more economical benefit to the farmers. Despite of this benefit to implement agrivoltaic in Africa, still there are many challenges. As many countries in Africa don't have still regulation or policy support mechanism to implement independent power producing project, which can allow private investor to implement agrivoltaic project and sell the power to the power authority using the national grid. And also this kind of a project usually being implemented in the rural area, agricultural area, where there is no national grid. So it's very hard to connect this power system to the grid, or it can only sell the power to the nearby community with the off-grid system. So without economically viable business model from power generation and farming, it's not possible to cover this high installation costs. So to address this kind of challenge, it's very important off-grid business model can be used to sell the power to the surrounding community. And also it can factor in agricultural profit from sustainable farming practice is very important. For example, in case of the Fiji and Indonesia, not only the staple crops, but also we implement high value crop in the business model, such as coffee, vanilla, cacao, and so on. And that kinds of crop also need this climate protection from high temperature and so on. So also other business model can be integrated, such as the e-bike charging system powered by this agrivoltaic system that not only improve the economical viability, but also maximize its mitigation impacts. And currently we are testing out this kind of off-grid agrivoltaic model combined with the other revenue stream in Indonesia. And I hope that we can implement this kind of a similar project in Africa in the future. And also to increase the economical viability, our Fiji project, like having this kind of financial model, having blended financing from the private equity and low interest loan from GCF, and also grant from the aid agency. So, that will be pretty much about today's panel discussion, and I look forward to discuss more from your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Song Yun. We will now quickly move over to a section where we are going to launch a report, and then I will call on our Rwanda country rep to do the closing remarks. So I will invite HC Masood Jalal to come to the table. And Omar can just say one or few words about this report as we move into it.
Thank you, Daniel. As you know, GGI has been implementing 2 years. GGI has been implementing 2 years project in 3 countries: Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, and Uganda. This project was funded by Denmark, and after 2 years, now it comes to some lesson learned. But the main issue was that to get the second phase, the government of Denmark was just questioning us, because it was a fear that if we deploy at large scale solar irrigation in Africa, maybe we will face the same issues we are facing in Asia, India, and some countries where we have overuse of groundwater. Now that's why we come up with this technical report, just to showcase that based on what have been learned, what we have in terms of fresh water availability and available land, and the irrigation potential is just a sort of ratio between available fresh water and irrigable land. We can see that we are very far from having such type of situation we are facing in Asia, and it means that in going through the exploitation of those figures we had throughout Africa, we demonstrate that yeah, we are far from this situation. But in the same time, what we recognize is that we need to take some measure. Means that we need to put in place some policies that can help us, even if we scale up or deploy at large scale solar irrigation. It means that we will have some measures that can help us to avoid such situation as in South Asia. The other issue on in terms of takeaway is that implementing climate smart agriculture or solar irrigation, we need key aspect to be to have in mind. Capacity building, for example. Capacity building, we talk about it during the SAFE initiative on many sessions. It is very important in Africa, but not only targeting farmers, but we need to target all involved stakeholders. For example, in our case in Uganda, we find out that targeting farmers is not enough. We need to target also maybe financial institutions, because sometimes they need to know better in terms of agriculture, how they need to evaluate the risk, and also in the same time also they need to understand the gain behind the technologies. The other aspect is also I think in the case of Senegal, we talk a lot about some challenges related to procurement. In Ethiopia, our experience shows us that providing guidelines to the government, we can help the government to have some standards on so that we can have quality and standards related to the equipment. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, let me just stop here, and our colleagues in charge of communication will share the link so that you can have access to this publication. This is very helpful regarding solar irrigation in Africa.
Thank you very much. And as we call on our country representative of Rwanda to do the closing remarks for this two-part section, I will also hand over to my colleague, Dr. Basil, who will take you through the next section. Caroline.
Thank you, Daniel. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So as we come to the end of this session, I want to first express our sincere appreciation to all the participants and the speakers who have contributed to this rich exchange. It is really your insight and your collaborative spirit that makes GG Week such a fantastic and truly special forum. So thank you. Merci beaucoup à vous tous. Through the two case studies that we've seen, so in Senegal and in Rwanda, we have heard of the importance of piloting and gathering context-specific evidence for scaling up. As Dr. Brigitte said, context matters. So we must avoid a one-size-fits-all approach, and we need to work from the bottom up so that we are adapting these different innovations to the local realities on the ground. Another key takeaway for me is the need for integrated approach. Here, I would like to re-echo Mamadou's call for the need to maintain a holistic approach. At GGI, we really prioritize these nexus solutions because we know that our food systems account for 50% of the world's habitable land use. They represent 70% of global freshwater withdrawals. They generate 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions, which is higher than the global aviation sector. We can all choose to stop flying, but we cannot choose to stop eating. So we really need to address this issue at the climate and food nexus. And at the same time, in Africa, we know that our food system is highly vulnerable to climate change. So we need to rapidly scale up the solutions that deliver multiple benefits and that also tackle both mitigation and adaptation challenges together. And for that to happen, I think it's been mentioned in a couple of the presentations, we really need to do a better job at connecting the parts of our food systems that connect to other sectors. So water, energy, waste. And for that, we also need to improve our policy. We need governance changes urgently. We need to look at multi-sector, multi-level governance to help us transition towards this shift. Almost every speaker highlighted the need for access to finance and having suitable funding schemes for these solutions to be adopted at scale. So we must collectively work together, as we are doing in Senegal, to structure these innovative business models needed to de-risk climate-smart agriculture in Africa. And we need to tap into the opportunities of blended finance to do that. This requires a whole of society approach. Government obviously plays a key role in setting a conducive environment, but we need to work together, all of us, government, private sector, civil society organizations, international organizations such as GDI, farmer-based organizations, all the different value chain actors have to come together to address this financing barrier once and for all. And as GGI, we are very proud and committed to supporting that effort, not just in those two countries, but also across the continent. I really want to end by emphasizing that we need to center and empower smallholder farmers throughout all of our efforts. I heard Omar loud and clear saying that it's not just smallholder farmers, but I do want to say that that must remain our North Star, because most of our food system in Africa depends on smallholder farmers. They represent 60% of our population. They produce 80% of the foods that we consume. So how do we ensure that these different innovative solutions and the financing mechanisms that we are crafting really benefit smallholder farmers? I think that will be quite crucial, and we need to keep that front and center as we look at these different innovations. We know many farmers in Africa are not irrigating at all, let alone using solar-powered irrigation systems. So more needs to be done to enhance their knowledge, strengthen their capacity, and design the financing mechanisms tailored to their economic reality. So I would like to just end by that, really saying the need to center smallholder farmers, and particularly women smallholder farmers, who we know are the backbone of our food system. So thank you again for your time and your participation. I hope you stay tuned for the second part of the session.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for that powerful ending. And I just want to thank all the panelists for our participants. Please do stay on for the second part of this panel discussion. And I will now hand over to Dr. Basile to take over from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on where you are. I welcome you to the part B of this session on climate smart agriculture. My name is Basile. I'm a senior economic officer at GGI. As we already have done in the first part, we are discussing the linkages between climate change, climate mitigation, adaptation, as well as food security. We've heard a lot already on very concrete and tangible solutions on the ground. What we also now want to emphasize here is like, how can we achieve these goals jointly through international collaboration? As we already have heard in the previous session, GGGI launched the Africa Middle East SAFE initiative, scaling up agriculture resilience for food security and economic development in Africa. And this is a key endeavor for GGGI, creating win-win solutions for resource-rich but food import-dependent countries on the one side, that means in the Middle East, and also a win-win situation for low-income countries with a huge potential for agricultural development and food exports due to abundant agricultural land. Now, this is a very complex but necessary effort, and it bears the chance of jointly addressing several key challenges of the time with climate change, food security, as well as economic stability. Now, following the previous first part of this session on climate smart agriculture, the scene is set for the discussion on the international aspects, on the aspects of international collaboration. And I'm very happy to introduce to you our high-profile panelists, who are first Dina Kasa-Kebede. She is a project and partnership officer at the Ethiopian Institute of Foreign Affairs. Then Professor Dr. Zulfikar Ali, he's the director of programs of the Islamic Organization for Food Security. And then we will also have a presentation by Dr. Richard Nyavyung, who is a policy and research lead at the Alliance for Sustainable Development. Now, first, as said, I would like to hand over to Dina Kasa-Kebede. She will talk about how to build adaptation mechanisms in agriculture and especially also pastoralist sectors. So I would like to hand over, Dina, the floor is yours.
Isabel, is Dina connected?
Yes, she's connected.
You cannot hear yet.
Wait a minute.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for this opportunity. So my research is about building adaptation mechanism in agriculture and pastoralist sector. My name is Dina, and I'm Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia. So in Ethiopia, the majority of the community reside in rural area, and it is about 80% of the community. And due to the climate challenges, the current situation is very hard, and it is not even sufficient to feed the 20% of the people who reside in urban area. So my project aims to address those challenges which is related to climate change, particularly in pastoralists and in farmers. I came up with the idea of the idea of building climate diplomacy in order to bring a climate finance for this project, so we can able to bring a sustainable system in agriculture as well as in pastoralist. So the project objectives are in order to build adaptation system for agriculture in pastoralist. It's mandatory to secure climate adaptation finance and infrastructure support. And in order to get this facility, we need to work on climate diplomacy, because as climate stands as the challenges for all of us worldwide. And also as African, we are the vulnerable one, and mainly the people who reside in rural area directly are they are more vulnerable because of that's all about why we can feed the people, not only the rural, also the people who live in urban area. So my idea is about giving a project work towards the pastoralist and the farmer by coming up with the idea of climate smart agriculture, as well as both in pastoralist and in the farmers. When you see in agriculture, most people, especially who reside in highland parts of Ethiopia, lot of projects which start in the past, they were not successful because they didn't able to reach out with to all the community, for all the farmers in the pastoralists. So in my project, once able to secure...
Excuse me quickly. Saidina,
Hello.
we cannot see your screen at this, or is it visible to
Can't
yours?
see my screen, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
That's good. Now if you can put it on presentation mode.
May I share the presentation again?
No, yes, it's fine. Now it's good.
Okay.
Just continue. Thank you.
May I continue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So in order to build the adaptation strategies for pastoralists and the farmers, we need to come up with the water management for pastoralists because of the unseasonal weathers, especially in Oromia region, which is particularly known with pastoralists. They suffer a lot because of the unseasonal weathers. Sometimes there will be high rainfall and sometimes it will be dry out. That's why we lose our livestock. So we need to bring the facility of technology transformation, as well as we need to enable the pastoralists to get access for information, and we need to train them to get an information of weather forecasting. Because of there is no an awareness in the farmers as well as in the pastoralists, they are mainly suffering because of the lack of awareness and information. So first, if we want to bring a change, we need particularly to work on this community. But in the past years, all the projects have been directly with the researchers. The researchers will go to that particular place, they will adopt that project, but it will not be successful because we are not working directly to the farmers and the pastoralists. But if we enable them to give a training, how they can make it sustainable, and if we can create an institutional system among the farmers and the pastoralists, how they can teach each other, how they can access information, it will be easier to make it sustainable and to address this challenge. So in my project, once we able to get this climate finance for this particular projects in agriculture and in pastoralist, I will come up with the training, as well as I will come up with impactful projects that can bring a sustainable change in this particular area. In the past, when it comes to the agriculture, in Ethiopia, there was a system of the biogas, which is directly related with this renewable energy and bringing this renewable energy of byproduct of the biogas for natural fertilizer. It was successful. It was implemented for a short period of time, but because of the farmers are not aware of how to manipulate the whole system, it didn't become successful. So now the target has to be this farmer. The target has to be this pastoralist. Even though we build this artificial lake, but if we go out, it will not be successful. So the action has to be giving a training as well as creating this institutional system among the pastoralists to follow up the whole process and give them opportunity to manipulate the whole system by themselves. In addition to this, the big challenge is they are not aware of how to get the information, and also there is no access of internet in rural area. Because of that, they don't know about anything about the weather. Even most of the community, they don't know what climate change is, and they don't know what they are suffering, or they don't know about this challenge. That's why we need the training. That's why we need to work more on these target groups. So as the key challenges in towards the agriculture sector is like the soil degradation, unsustainable practice, and infertility of soil, we need to give more priority for this project. And also, I believe it will be successful if we can come up with the idea of this climate diplomacy for climate finance, and bringing this, achieving this project by directly connecting with the farmers and the pastoralists and making this project sustainable. So here is all about my research project. Thank you so much. If there is any question, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dina, for your very valuable contribution on the linkages between climate change, climate adaptation, and land and water management on the ground. You created a good overview of how the technological solutions, such as building artificial lakes, having climate forecasting system, how to bring that together with the social constraints of limited access to technology, limited access to information, and how such a comprehensive system can be made functional on the ground by empowering the people, the pastoralists, to run such systems themselves amidst the challenges of climate change. Thank you very much. That was very insightful. For the next speaker, I would like to introduce Professor Zulfikar Ali, the Director of Programs from IOFS. He's going to talk about the organization and its contribution to ensure food security, cooperation for sustainability. Thank you very much. Professor Zulfikar, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Basal. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, as the case may be. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, first of all, GGI for inviting us and providing this opportunity to present the activities of IOFS. Let me briefly introduce the organization of IOFS. Is basically specialized institutions of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, established in 2016. Its headquarters is in Astana, Republic of Kazakhstan. Currently, it has 41 member states out of total 57 member states of OIC. The main objectives of this organization is to provide expertise and technical know-how to the member states regarding the agri-food system, both on the production and processing fronts. Help the member states to assess the food security situation and also do necessary humanitarian assistance. The third aim is to mobilize the financial and agricultural resources for agricultural development and enhancing food security among the member states. Formulate and implement agricultural policies along with the member states for the better governance, particularly for the exchange and transfer of the technologies and the food management system. Currently, IFS VN 2031 is under implementation, which consists of 5 pillars: governance enablement, food crisis response, capacity building, industry development, resource mobilizations. So we are implementing 16 strategic programs to ensure sustainable food security in OIC member states. IFS, in collaboration with Islamic Development Bank and SASREC, has designed the strategic plan for food security of the OIC member states. And this plan is under consultation with the OIC member states, and it will be approved next year by the 10th Ministerial Conference for Food Security and Agriculture Development. According to this plan, this food security ecosystem is divided into 5 strategic blocks: model sports centers, industry development, capacity building, resource mobilization, and intra-trade. Each of these strategic block has the action programs. The model sports center basically focusing the capacity building of the member states, particularly focusing on the crops and animals for planning, mentoring, for the climate smart agriculture, introducing the best practices. Whereas the product development, innovations, food safety, standards and certification, they are under the industry development block. Distribution hubs, special agricultural zones, the cooperatives and farmer markets, food security reserves, they are included in the capacity building, whereas access to research and development, next generation technologies, finance, markets, they are under the resource mobilization block. Trade agreements, partnership, contractual farming, the interventions for the price volatility, and the advocacy, they are included in the intra-OIC trade block. Currently, the key program initiatives are listed over here. Then IFS is implementing capacity building activities and projects to enhance the productivity and resilience of agri-food systems, focusing on the strategic commodities, wheat, rice, cassava, animal development, and the policy frameworks. IFS is assisting member states to access best technologies, best practices, and expertise on various aspects of sustainable agriculture and food security. This slides has some of the project initiatives listed over here. We are focusing on the two aspects. One is on the strategic commodities and animals for the introduction of the new technologies, the new genetics, and the other side is the practices. If we see historically, the food security is addressed by the Green Revolution once the dwarfing genes were introduced in wheat and rice, and the architecture of the wheat and rice plants was modified. This interventions was coupled with the introduction of the fertilizers and the mechanization, which resulted to address the food security in many developing countries. Similarly, with the in the current era, if we see the climate changes, the erratic precipitation and temperature changes, they are now determining that there should be another revolution like Green Revolution, which may lead from the both technology coming from the genetics and technology coming from the from the practices and the management. So we are building the capacity of member states in both terms. For example, for the strategic commodities, we are building capacity for the development of new seeds, new genetics, to have better enhanced efficiencies for water and nutrients use, and having more heat and drought tolerant, having more tolerant to low temperature. So this is one front. On the other front, we are building capacities for the practices like climate smart agricultural practices, bringing some innovative solutions of the microbial interventions like biofertilizer, biopesticides. And if we see the agro-ecosystem, so the main thing in the agro-ecosystem are three essential elements which are recycling again and again. And these elements are water, nutrients, and carbon. The soil of most of the OIC member states is poor in carbon, whereas the water and nutrients, they are inefficiently used. So our focus in the capacity building activities and projects is to bring the efficiencies for the use of water and for use of the nutrients. So far we have implemented several projects in the member states. And the future upcoming major projects we are looking is the IFS Gene Bank, where we are first bringing the crop gene bank, particularly the seeds, and the other interventions. We are now in the formulation of Center of Excellence for Good Food in Food. This is with the initiative with the Qatar. And in this project, we are focusing 4 farming systems: conventional, organic, regenerative, and sustainable. So we have the plan to build the capacity of the member states and the farmers to deploy the good practices through this center. And there is another initiative from Pakistan, is Flood Resilience Center, as Pakistan and 8 other countries from the OIC geography, which are badly hit by the floods due to climate change. And the communities, they are more vulnerable over there. Livelihood is more challenged over there. So in this center, the idea is to introduce the alternate options due to changing pattern of the agro-ecosystem over there, and sharing of the experience by the member state to address these challenges. So these are some of the key initiatives which we are going to take. So far, this organization is new, starting physical activities since 2022. So we are improving in terms of implementation of activities and projects, and outreaching to maximum beneficiaries, keeping a balance among the member states of Asia, Africa, and Arab blocs. On the humanitarian front, we have delivered 2 convoys in Afghanistan with the support of Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. And we also have 1 convoy to the Syria during the time of earthquakes with the support of Kazakhstan. We are ready to deliver the 2 convoys to Gaza with the contribution of member state, a major contribution coming from Kazakhstan and Qatar. During the September last week, we have launched the Advancing Wheat Cultivation for Sustainable Development in West Afghanistan. This project is in collaboration with the government of Kazakhstan and TICA, and we are targeting 300 farmer families, including 45 women. We have provided certified wheat seed, fertilizer, and access to machinery in the Herat province. Thank you very much for the time, for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zulfikar, for your good overview of what IFS does. It's actually a comprehensive portfolio of activities ranging from industrial development, capacity building, animal development, gene bank, even humanitarian assistance, which as I imagine requires quite flexible structures to be on the ground where your support is needed. And notably, as you also said, your engagement in climate smart agriculture. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. And you also kept time perfectly. So the next speaker I would like to invite to the stage is Dr. Richard Nia Wung, from the Alliance for Sustainable Development, and he's going to talk about the management of blue carbon ecosystem and the connection to socioeconomic inequalities in a changing environment. Please, Dr. Richard, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Basil. I don't know if my slides can be shown, or do I have to share my slides myself?
Let us see.
Isabel.
Okay.
Isabel can help.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, I don't have slides.
Oh.
So then
And then,
maybe you can
I
share
share
it by
from my
yourself.
end? Okay, sure.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Let me
Thank
try.
you.
Oh, should I share myself? If that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's easy.
So I don't know if everybody can see my slides good. Is my slides okay?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to have this chat, and I'm very happy for GGGI for giving me this opportunity. I'm sure when many people even see the title Blue Carbon, many people will be wondering what is it doing in this kind of meeting, But the main point is, blue here just means, it's just because it is linked with like a ocean and some water. So I would just like to just spend time today just to be able to convince how, I've been trying to follow all the discussions from the beginning. There's a lot of talk like missing about blue foods or fisheries, like we don't really see a lot of opportunities within that space. So my whole goal is just to use this next minute just to draw on some work I've been doing. Like, I'm now at Stanford. Just to be able to also share on some of the research we have been able to do in this area over the past years. But just to provide some context and a little bit of as a background. So blue food carbon system, so blue carbon ecosystems here just means things like mangrove, seagrasses. So of course they fall under blue carbon ecosystem because they are like their main base is the ocean or as wetlands. So like we have mangroves where although we see green trees in the air, but those systems are implanted within wetlands, between water systems. So that's why they fall under blue carbon ecosystems. And now in this case, so these blue carbon ecosystems, if we take, for example, as a mangrove. So mangroves really play an important role when it comes to climate change, medicine mitigation and adaptation, where we have seen how these ecosystems can be able to really sequencize a lot of CO2 from the atmosphere. And then also, but what we now also fail to understand is that these same mangrove ecosystems provide several livelihoods, economic activities, and food systems for many people, especially in the global south, because there are lots of communities that really depend on this ecosystem for so many reasons. But the point is, over the years, from human activities, climate change as well, we are seeing a fast degradation of this mangrove ecosystem. So we are losing these blue carbon ecosystems that play an important role in how we manage, how we can be able to address climate change and to really be that first line to be able to really fight it. And then often, but of course, in some countries, there have been policies on how best can we really manage these mangrove ecosystems in a way that we can restore them, we can keep them to allow them to keep sequencing carbon. But this always leads to inequality because it either pushes people away from the system or there is no mechanism or there is no system in place on how best we can manage both the mangrove or the blue carbon ecosystem and those who really rely on it. So in this case, I would like to just draw on context from the Gambia. So, this is a country where we have been able to work there for the past 8 years plus, where, the Gambia is a very small country. It is like swallowed by Senegal. So but the country is so unique that mangrove there play an important role in terms of it really provides livelihood for many women oyster harvesters. So women really go into the mangrove to be able to harvest oysters that they sell for their income and also for food. But in 2007, the government gave this exclusive users right, which was a nice policy where the people themselves can be able to manage the whole system. But the main point now is that how do we manage the mangrove and still ensuring the women still keep having their livelihoods? Because for example there, we see a lot of this in dynamics, how this same mangrove helps in terms of providing food, livelihood and local energy, because people harvest the mangrove for fuel, firewood, and stuff. So there's a whole dynamics happening there that we need to really understand. So just for me to just draw a little bit of context. So I just tried to use these visuals, which was something we did, just be able to show the dynamics within the system, how there's a lot of drivers of change, where despite climate change, where we see increase in tides and those stuff, where saltiness of the water is really affecting the mangrove. We now also have people relying on this system for their fishery. So when the women go to harvest the oysters, they also damage all this mangrove, But the point is, there have been some actions that is being done to be able to really help them. And the first one is, how do we really restore and manage this mangrove? And the first action, as I said, is there have been this policy in place where the women can only go in these systems just 3 months in a year. So they can only go within the mangrove to be able to harvest it for just 3 months. So they can allow time for the mangrove system to restore and also for the oysters to also grow. But the point is, if you ask yourself, if we are telling the women who rely on these resources to stay off the mangrove because they are trying to promote mangrove systems, mitigation approaches, but the point is, what do they do during those 8 months? So these women, they have no alternative livelihoods because they are just there in the communities because they cannot go. So so that now creates what we call inequalities within the system, where the people now, they lack food, they don't have enough income to be able to meet their needs. So this is a whole dynamics where we have the approach where this mangrove or this blue carbon ecosystem systems play a very key role to help us mitigate climate change, but at the expense of the people who depend on it. So now, but the main approach now is, what can we do? So since we're talking about green growth in the whole uncertain world, the climate is changing, the weather is changing. If you look around the world, there are lots of weather-related issues happening now in so many countries. But this is a system where the people themselves are trying their best to preserve and restore their mangroves, but that comes at their own expense. So how do we do it? So that's why there is a whole approach now to how do we make climate financing mechanisms that will be able to really help, to help when the people stay off the system. How do they become sustainable? How do we create alternative financing sources? Also in terms of energy, how can we also capture energy from this mangrove system without damaging them? So these are just some of the questions that it will be necessary when we talk about green growth in these changing times. How do we make sure we are ensuring systems to stay intact while not affecting inequalities within the human ecosystem? And that's why for policy actions, it's just that we really emphasize more. If you look at all the talks within the whole week, you won't really see something that really draws so much on the blue carbon ecosystem, but there is a need for us to really invest more time or more to financing within this space because this is a whole system. The ocean or the blue carbon ecosystems has a lot of potential to carbon CO2 from the atmosphere. So it plays a very big role in terms of climate change adaptation. And also the next plan too is that how do we help support marginalized communities and people who are being affected by all this protection or conservation policies? How do we create a way that can be able to really manage them? And the last thing too is that it will be important for us to also co-involve communities in how we do to manage these systems. How do we talk with them? Because, for example, in the Gambia, women are forced to stay off the fisheries for 8 months in a year. So what do they do during those 8 months? What other alternative options can we help them or to be able to stay afloat and to avoid inequality or not to really impact their well-being? So these are just some of the key action points that I said would be nice for us to share. And I'm very happy to create time to talk more on this issue. But I see the whole blue carbon space as an important issue that should really feature in some of these meetings and discussions in terms of how we finance global green growth. Thank you so much, and I hope I didn't take so much of the time. Thank you, Basil.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richard. This is very insightful, very good example of a case study as well. You point directly to conflict of interest and the dilemmas that we often face, right? When it's about bringing green growth and economic development together. So, and at the same time, the blue carbon ecosystem is an emerging topic. So your research is very important. And as you said, more research is also needed. And I also think more policy development. So thank you for this. Now we are still perfectly in time. I would like to indeed end by that. Please comment or write in the chat if you have a question to any of the panelists.
Basil, maybe I will ask Richard if the program is linked to carbon credit.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah, so I mean that's a very nice point. So like the whole this idea of like the carbon as a credit has not really, we have not really seen the benefits when it comes to Africa. So those like the Gambia as of now is not really benefiting from any carbon credit system. So we'll be happy to like see such systems coming there. But for now, there is no carbon credit systems for this mangrove ecosystem. I don't know if that answers your question.
okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
If there is no question in the chat,
Are there any other questions?
no, there is no question.
Maybe if I may ask a question myself, to Professor Sulvikar. So if you think about, especially also what the GDGI is discussing in the context of the SAFE initiative, if we think about making green investment in agriculture, also international investment, then we face the reality that we have maybe let's say a sovereign wealth fund, for example, that has as its policy a goal of making green investment, but at the same time it's also a profit-driven investment, right? Looking for returns. So how do we make sure also in planning of the SAFE initiative that we do not end up with the agriculture investment only discarding the green aspects, such that what we have in the end on the ground is rather conventional and not supporting green growth? So how can we make sure that throughout the whole process from planning to implementation, that the green aspect, the sustainability aspect, the CSA aspect, that they remain a key part to actually make things different on the ground and different from what they have been in the past?
And thank you very much, Basil. What I understand is that the green investment should be more effective, and it should be more efficiently utilized for the sustainability of the agri-food system. This is one thing that we bring the green investment into the policy frameworks, as IFS is doing to bringing the climate smart agriculture as integrated into the agricultural policies of the member states. So initially, we are working with the Central Asian member states, and then we will go further as well. But the other technical aspects of these interventions are the misuse or abuse as well. For example, if we say the solar panel assisted the pumps, the water pumps, there will be over pumping as well. Because there will be no cost of the energy, only the cost of the infrastructure. So the farmers may use or overpump the water. And it is experienced in the countries where the energy cost was lowered and the underground pumping was allowed by the governments that farmers they may use. So the overpumping will have the negative impact in lowering the water table. So in the meantime, there is a need of the policy and legislation of the water use, water pricing. There should be a very wisely thought mechanism of using the green interventions, particularly once we are talking about the pumping of the water. And the other is the water management. In our strategy, we are implementing water management through improvement of the soil health, through holding water by the soil, soil capacity, water holding capacity. So basically, the thing is that these interventions can be deployed, but with optimized scenarios. So there will be need to develop this scenario for a particular member states, for a particular sub-region, a region. So like SAFE is a good initiative for the Africa, but it may not be as such good for other countries. So it will need to be customized according to the real needs in the region. So this is my point of view, that customization will be needed for each step.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor, for this answer, which is very understandable. I don't see any more questions. So in that case,
there is one question
sorry?
in the chat. I think there is one question in the chat.
I have a question in the chat, Basil.
Very good, Kevin. Yes, please, Raymond.
It's about the use of the artificial intelligence in blue carbon estimation. The question to Dr. Richard is to know if it has been experiences, and if yes, what is the reliability?
Yeah. So I mean, I just listen. Sorry now. Thank you so much. So, I mean, we have all this data, like we have all these estimations, but the main point is that once we have all these AI use tools, how does it really affect the community? You know, so we haven't really seen some of these estimations that have been used in direct emergency policy implications. But if you go online, you see a lot of like these AI use systems to be able to map out blue carbon estimations. And that's what they use in some of the credits. But the main point is that we have not really seen those system policies being used or being, trying to help these countries who really need their help. So yes, there exist tools to be able to like estimate all the blue as carbon, which I can share with you by this email. So there are my tools out there. Thank you.
Good. Yes, thank you for this. So I guess now we have answered all the questions. So I would like to hand over to His Excellency Dr. Masood, who is the chairman of IOFS. It's an honor to also have you on this part and in this session. Thank you very much. I see you're ready. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Actually, if we think about the impact of climate change, it's no more thinking of it as a theoretical phenomenon. We can see every day the impact of climate change, which means that we need, to have measures towards the adaptation and mitigation. And we believe that the technology can help in this regard. But the good things is having a centralized or joint project together, where the data and outcomes from that project or research can be disseminated instead of, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We need, that data to be available. Any outcomes, any technology, and any know-how that need to be disseminated, that need to be available through any platform, so that can be, used, and we can tackle the climate change impact. So this is what we believe also in IOFS, that how we can provide a platform for all the technology and know-hows that can help in tackling the climate change impact. So this is what I think about the technology, and we believe that technology can help, but also if we make it available through any mechanism that will maximize the benefit from that knowledge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you for setting the final point behind this session. I would like to thank everybody, all the panelists, for their very valuable contributions. There have been some questions about sharing the slides. I think this can be facilitated after. So let me close for now. There is more on the program for GGI Week. So I encourage you to visit also the next session and in the coming days as well. And bye for now. Have a nice rest of the day or evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Basil. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.